Monster Hunter 1. What do you think of when you hear of it? Attacking with the analog stick, lack of icons for gathering spots on the map, aggressive and abundant small monsters? I'm sure some of these things and more come to your head when you think of the original Monster Hunter for the PS2, but what if I told you despite all of that, the game can actually be fun? Going into the first Monster Hunter, I had the mindset of trying to immerse myself into the game by letting go of my preconceived notions of what a Monster Hunter is or what it became over time. Essentially just starting fresh and seeing where the game takes me. What I've learned at this point is that a lot of the experience is what you make of it. They give you the tools and a vague sense of what to do, and it's up to you to decide where you end up and how. Once I got used to the controls, of course, I found that patience, exploration, and trial and error were rewarded greatly. Of course, a lot of it felt clunky. I'm not going to fool myself into believing I'm playing a flawless game here. But there is a beauty and depth to Monster Hunter 1 that, as I'm progressing through, I feel is often overlooked. What made me even more excited was that I didn't even get to what was considered the best part, and that's hunting with others online. Well, in the spirit of having all this freedom, perhaps I flew too close to the sun. I decided that I wanted the first monster I hunt in Monster Hunter 1 for the PS2 to be Rathalos. So before I even see the Velocidrome for the first time, I'm gonna take this flying red freak down. How? Well, you know how in other Monster Hunter games, the flagship monster shows up in unexpected quests? For example, how Tigrex shows up during the Popotung quest in Freedom 2, or Lagiacrus for the Monster Guts quest in Tri. That basically happens with Rathalos in the Egg Delivery quest within the 2-Star Village quests in Kokoto Village. Of course, when you have a Wyvern Egg Delivery quest, you'd expect an intimidating Wyvern blocking your path, so that's not very surprising. But what's interesting is that you can set out on this quest and hunt Rathalos before you fight your first real large monster, which in this game would be the Velocidrome. Unlike something like the Lagiacrus quest I mentioned earlier, where the game won't let you actually successfully hunt him, you can hunt Rathalos and obtain drops from him in Monster Hunter 1. So that was my lofty goal, to take down Rathalos as my first hunt. And that's the journey we'll be going over in today's video, as well as the many different features and quirks of the first ever Monster Hunter title. Will I still be enjoying this game as much as I have been up to this point, by the time I achieve slaying this Rathalos? Or will I succumb to its harshness? All I can tell you now is what unfolded during my hunt with him simply left me utterly speechless. But before we get into the meat of this event, there are a couple of things to note on how exactly I'm playing through the game. Technically, I'm playing through an English translated version of the Japanese release of Monster Hunter 1. It has a couple of differences in gameplay that I'll mention when relevant in the video, but essentially it's the earliest official build of Monster Hunter. The reason I'm playing it this way is because it's the only way to access the private servers for the game. However, we're just going through the village, so we won't see any of that just yet. I'm also playing it all through a physical PS2 so I can have the authentic Monster Hunter 1 experience, PS2 analog stick and all. If you want to watch me go through this beauty of a game, I'm live on Twitch right now playing more Monster Hunter 1. We got an emote of the Village Chief now. I know, things are getting crazy. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're only 1 subscriber away from reaching 3 billion subscribers. Not having fought any monsters in this game yet, I wasn't sure what to expect in terms of combat. It wasn't until I did the Egg Delivery quest that I had my first real encounter with the beast. The Egg quest was as familiar as any other Monster Hunter game. Protect this egg at all costs, and don't let him turn his own child into an omelet. However, I was surprised at just how ruthless he was in chasing after me. Also, fun fact, in this game, Wyvern eggs actually take up an inventory slot when you're holding it, so you gotta make sure you have some room. Rathalos gets his own cutscene when you first meet him, and it's definitely a little intimidating. I lured him into his nest so I could traverse the next area safely, but I forgot that you have to walk off this cliff a certain way to not do this.
We're good, right? We're good?
The second time around, I jumped off correctly, and the game jump scared me into thinking Rathalos was coming.
And all we have to do is just get to area...
But I was safe, I think. I kept going, and I was almost home free.
We're almost home free! No! No, 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 bad. Bad dog. Oh, hell no! No! No!
Real funny, Rathalos. Eventually, I was successful in delivering the egg, but I wasn't going to forget the hardships Rathalos gave me. This is when I was sure I had to take him down and teach him a lesson. In order to take on Rathalos, I'm going to need to upgrade my sword and shield to the highest tier that's available to me, as well as make some armor so I don't get completely eviscerated by this flying demon. I'm using the Sword and Shield, by the way, because it's actually pretty damn strong in this game, and I enjoy the mobility it offers. Once I got acclimated to the game's controls, the weapons feel surprisingly versatile. I decided to upgrade the bone line of the Sword and Shield and create and upgrade the bone pick. However, I wasn't prepared for the grind that was ahead of me. I needed to obtain small bone husks. There are 2 ways to obtain this item at this point of the game. I can either get a crap ton of them by killing Velocidrome, which isn't an option because of the way we're going about this challenge, or collect them slowly in the Area 5 gathering spot in the Forest and Hills map. You'd think you'd get the bone husks from the bones on the ground in this area, but if you gather in the Wyvern egg spot when you're not on an egg delivery quest, you can get other items. You can't get eggs on quests where they aren't supposed to be delivered. So after destroying the swarm of Velociprey that guard this area, who like to multiply if you're not looking, I went gathering. On average, I would get 1 small bone husk per quest, and my first upgrade needed 5. Something that would have sped up my process here is realizing that nothing found wasn't the same as there is nothing else here. Nothing found quite literally means you found nothing for that gathering attempt, but there's a chance there is still more to gather, and that would have saved me a lot of time if I knew that beforehand. After an hour of grinding, I had enough bone husks and also had enough money by selling the Kutku scales you could gather in the bones on the floor to make enough to afford the bone pick. Nearly an extra 30 raw, but somehow I'm getting less sharpness. After crafting it, I wasn't ready for what I needed for the next upgrade.
Bone pick plus. What do I need? Please don't be like 10 small bone husks.
So I got back to it. At least I was getting more bone husks on average, knowing that I could gather after seeing a nothing found. Again, all it would take is like 1 or 2 Velocidrome to get enough bone husks for this entire upgrade. But if only it was that easy for me. After another hour of grinding, I managed to get all the materials and money I needed for the Bone Pick Plus.
The Bone Spike? The ultimate bone pick sword. Uses more monster bones for improved attack power. No. All right, let's see what we need. 15 small bones.
I needed to take a break for the day, but I resumed the small bone husk grind the following afternoon. Things were looking good. At one point, I got 4 small bone husks in one quest. Sometimes luck can be on my side. Eventually, I got all the bone husks I needed except for 1. So I have 14 out of 15, so close to making that legendary bone spike. Just 1 more bone husk.
Oh, no. Give me a small bone husk right now. Oh, no.
I got lucky earlier with the 4-in-1, so maybe this is just how the game decided to balance things. Surely, it can't happen again.
Please, no. I can't. I can't. No, this can't be real. I must have 1 more. Gathering in here. Don't fly in chief right now, dude.
Clearly, I am just incredibly unlucky, but this happening 3 times in a row must be a statistical impossibility, right?
We still have plenty more attempts. Plenty more attempts. Yes! Yeah! Oh my god! Oh!
After nearly being eternally cursed by the Desire Sensor, I was finally able to craft the beautiful Bone Spike. I had a feeling the 181 raw damage and green sharpness would be vital for the Rathalos fight, so it was definitely worth it. Funnily enough, the next upgrade can either cost 3 or 48,000, and despite being that expensive, they either have less sharpness or raw damage. But they do now have Fire Element. It'll be interesting to see where these weapon trees take me in the future. I still haven't quite figured out the logic behind them, but for now this is where the upgrades end since I would need Rathalos parts to continue. Another fun detail is that despite my sharpness being green, my sword glows yellow. This game is just full of little differences like that. There's only one thing left to do now, create a decent armor set for some defense. As much as I'd like to have my butt booty out for the Rathalos hunt, I was getting kinda cold out in the wild. In Monster Hunter 1, you can't really tell what the armor pieces individually give you aside from the defense and resistances. They don't have any details about skills. Instead of skill points adding up to a number like 10 or 15 for you to obtain a usable skill, similar to the other older Monster Hunter games, it was more about set bonuses. I decided to go for the chainmail set and see what that would give me. I could thankfully just purchase the set I wanted, but grinding money also takes a lot of time in this game. You definitely want to get creative in the early game. Knowledge of where expensive items are in the forest and hills comes in handy for this. I decided the quickest and easiest way for me to farm money at this point is to do the 3 Velociprey hunt quest, which I can finish in a matter of seconds thanks to my trusty Bone Spike. Before I hunt them, I gather some special mushrooms I can sell for 60 zenny each, as well as honey that I can sell for 45 each on top of the abundant Velociprey drops. Sometimes. I either get 1 drop or like 8 from the quest rewards. On occasion, the Veggie Elder spawns in front of one of the honey spots, making it impossible to grab it. Thanks a lot, you old fart. I found out later on if I plopped in some hunter armor pieces with the chainmail, it would give me a set bonus of 5 defense and 10 health. I don't know why, but it works. This plus our slight positive fire resistance should hopefully be enough to take on Rathalos. It's finally time. I am ready to hunt him. Something that's interesting about this quest specifically is that if you kill any of the small monsters, they're gone for good, aside from little bugs like Vespoid. In the 3-star version of this quest, the small monsters respawn, so I guess they made them despawn permanently to make this 2-star version easier. Thankfully, we can take advantage of this so we can have the least amount of distractions around Rathalos as possible. I went into the wyvern's nest and I picked up an egg hoping for Rathalos to be lured. After some time, I was successful in luring him into his own lair, but I was absolutely not prepared for what was about to happen next.
What the hell is this? Bro is like nestled in there. Is this like a intimidation hole? Is this like where you look at a prisoner? Oh, sh.
He apparently has this secret little section he can chill in that's unreachable for me. As you saw, he could also jump out of it to attack me as well. What a great introduction to my first real fight with Rathalos. I learned very quickly that he loves to instantly charge out of virtually any move, and for obvious reasons, I was often unprepared for that. On my way out to go heal, I unfortunately caught the tail end of him running at me. Maybe I bit off a bit more than I could chew with this hunt, but I was determined to keep fighting no matter what happened. I proceeded to get run over a lot by his insta-charge move. The hitbox is just insane. I was using a lot of my healing items to recover from his attacks. He was dwindling down my resources at a very fast rate. Man, even the Vespoids were out to get me.
Mother... Let me sharpen! F off, man! God damn it! Stop!
After some time though, I got into the swing of things. I found that my best opportunity to attack was when he used fireballs, so I tried to bait them out as much as I could, and honestly, I felt like I was doing some good damage. If I was behind Rathalos, or at least avoiding his direct gaze, I could avoid most of his insta-charge moves. This is when Rathalos started doing some trolling. He loves flying around and wasting time. I ended up actually breaking his head, so I was feeling confident, and I was flinching him a lot too. Another reason the Sword and Shield is so good is the shield itself. It comes in handy blocking moves like wind pressure, roars, and his venom strikes. Making good use of the shield was vital if I wanted to have a real chance at taking him down. Like I mentioned earlier, I was using a lot of healing items, but the fun thing about Monster Hunter 1 is once you memorize the locations of all these gathering spots, it's cool to be able to replenish things like herbs and potions and whetstones when you know where to find them. It took some time out of the hunt, but at least I wasn't screwed out of not having any more vital items for the fight. Although, that being said, I did forget to bring my barbecue spit, despite having a bunch of raw meat, so my stamina was not going to have a fun time during the rest of this hunt. Something happened that was incredibly confusing to me. Despite it only being 20 minutes into the encounter, Rathalos was sleeping. At this point in the hunt though, he must be close to dying, he's sleeping. How naive I was. Apparently it's rare, but monsters in this game can choose to sleep and heal whenever. This unfortunately cursed me with a false sense of confidence. Oh, and a fun fact about Rathalos' sleeping animation, by the way, is that in the original JP version, he sleeps like flying wyverns like Yan Kutku, and in the Western release, it was changed to him sleeping on the ground as usual. Once awoken, he flew away immediately, so I decided to drop his offspring onto the ground to summon him.
Break the egg. You know what? F it. Hey, you're not gonna do anything about that, huh? Okay, I regret all of this.
I don't think he liked that. Fighting monsters in Area 9 is quite difficult because the camera is zoomed in on you for what I would assume are cinematic purposes, probably because the map is so narrow. Fighting Rathalos was quite the fiesta under these circumstances. Rathalos started flying around within the area, he got back down, then he immediately flew to Area 4. As I got to Area 4, he proceeded to go to Area 3. As soon as I started fighting him, he decided to fly back up once again. What a funny guy this Rathalos is. I did have some flash bombs to deal with this, but you can only bring so many. He unfortunately gets up really quickly after being hit by them too, so it's not the most helpful, especially if he decides to go up and fly again immediately after. He flew around me and then flew to another area. What area? I don't know. The paintball wore off right as he took flight. Maybe I shouldn't have dropped that egg, man. It all went downhill after that. But the buffoonery didn't end here.
Get scared by the... No, just go on the ground. How are you even inside the cave? How did you do that?
At this point, I was out of stamina, so I had to get creative.
Fly and movement technique. Fly and movement technique.
I decided to drop more of his eggs in protest. Surely he'd come back to avenge his kin. Eventually, I just stood there holding an egg. I waited and waited and waited some more. After minutes of waiting, he decided to finally come back home.
You're fucking with me. You're fucking with me.
I could not believe the sheer amount of tomfoolery this Rathalos was capable of. This dude clearly hated my guts with a passion, or maybe he just felt silly that day. I don't really know. At this point, I have 5 minutes left on the clock, and I'd still need to deliver the egg after slaying him for this to be a successful quest. I tried my best to somehow slay him in the remaining time, but with my frantic attacking and my lack of stamina, he carts me for a second time, and at this point, I have 40 seconds left. It was curtains. The quest ended, and I failed miserably. The way Rathalos majestically avoided me at every turn and swindled me into thinking he was near death was nothing short of inspirational. This made me more determined than ever to achieve my goal of hunting him. What a devious creature I found that thinks he can elude me. I am not going to make my first hunt be that smelly Velocidrome. I'm coming for you, Rathalos. No matter where he decides to go, I will find him and I'll hunt him. This entire 50-minute circus of a quest has taught me one important thing. If he tries to avoid me by flying away, I'll just never let him leave the ground. The next day, I was prepared, and I was stocked with healing items, maxed out whetstones, had flash bombs, a pitfall trap, and of course, plenty of well-done steaks to keep my stamina nice and full. Hell, I even bought barrel bombs, despite them being insanely expensive at this point in the game. No cost was too high. I'm ready to cook, and boy, did I start cooking.
Let's look at the funk.
Could you stop playing with that radio of yours? I'm trying to get to sleep. Could you stop playing with that radio of yours? I'm trying to get to sleep. Could you stop? Could you stop? I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to get to.
Did I kill him? No, there's no way. There's no way. Yo, let's go! Holy shit!
It was finally done. My very first hunt in Monster Hunter 1 for the PS2 was Rathalos. The way he clowned my ass in the first hunt filled me with the determination to hunt him down. And I had plenty of time to spare. I had half the quest left by the time I delivered that egg, and I didn't even cart once. I actually could create some armor pieces or upgrade my sword and shield if I wanted to from the drops I obtained from him, but I think I'm fine with not having to fight this guy again for a little while. To answer the question that I posed at the beginning of this video, will I still be enjoying this game as much as I did before hunting Rathalos? Absolutely. The feeling of satisfaction I had after taking down a monster like that, using everything I learned from the exploration, egg quests, and hunt itself felt incredible. Despite everything that is different about Monster Hunter 1, at its core, it's still a Monster Hunter game, and it still has all the elements I love about the series. And the differences in its mechanics honestly keep me hooked and wanting more. I'm eagerly waiting to see what the next challenge is for me within this game. And if you'd like to join me, I'm live right now progressing even further into Monster Hunter 1, and if you prefer watching VODs instead of the live stream experience, you can also check out the VODs channel. Definitely expect more content on this game because I feel like I've only scratched the surface of Monster Hunter 1. Who knows what else awaits when it comes to this game. Thank you guys for watching.